Hey everybody, this is BDC. Thank you for checking out this video and my channel. Today I am doing a review of Hardspace Shipbreaker. The title of this video, somewhere in there, is going to say, is it any good? Short answer, hell yes. If you are the engineer type, tactile learner type of person who likes taking things apart and understanding how things work, if you were like me and you were a nerd when you were a kid and you built a lot of Lego stuff, this game will appeal to you. I bought this game, I think, about 3 weeks ago, and I want to say I got it on sale on Steam, and it looked intriguing. I didn't really know much about it. I didn't watch any videos of it on YouTube or anywhere else prior, so I didn't have any real background information to go on here. But I fired it up, and I really enjoyed it. I got way sucked into this. A couple things about this. Hardspace Shipbreaker is about the main player, the character that you play. It's called a cutter, and he is a ship salvager. And what he does is he assumes the ownership of derelict vessels, ships, stuff like that. You work for this company called Lynx Corp, and it's up in Earth orbit, so this is set in the future, I don't know, 100, 200 years or whatever the story is. They don't really expound on that much in this game. It's just kind of hinted at. But anyway, you're a ship salvager, and so you're out there and you're in a spacesuit with a helmet, and you've got tools and the whole 9 yards. And the challenge of the game is to figure out how to effectively take these vessels apart, depending upon their difficulty. There's, I think, 4 different ratings of difficulty on the ship that will determine its complexity. I think it's easy, medium, hard, and very hard. So depending upon that, it'll make it a little bit more challenging. But as I was saying, the point is to try and salvage as many of these valuable components as possible and take things apart in a particular way to where you don't cause problems or lose materials or destroy good salvage, that kind of thing like that. Part of the premise of this game is that you start off with a $1 billion debt. It sounds ridiculous, and it sounds like something that you'll never be able to pay off, but if you check the leaderboards online, there are people who have actually managed to do it. But anywho, that's neither here nor there. So the idea is that you take these ships apart and you salvage as much as you can, so you're slowly working that debt off, if that makes any sense. I've never seen a game like that before, so it's kind of interesting. So anyway, with some of the starting options you have over here, you have some really hardcore ones like no revival. You have a certain amount of revives, so you can die so many times, which you can die. I've died, I think, 2 times on my current player, and that was a lot of fun. I think I got sucked into the furnace once and melted, and then I got smashed into the side of the space station by a piece of the ship that shot out. So there's all sorts of crazy things that can happen. Anywho, what I like to do is I like to play open shift. That's the one where there's no time limit. You can take as long as you want. And this game being a single person, low-key, chill type of game, I like to sit here and play this for a while. So the open shift thing to me is perfect. So I've already got a character that exists here. I'll go in and show it off here real quick. So there's a couple options here, whatever. I go into career. And career is essentially your real single-player experience of doing a ship, salvaging it, getting paid, upgrading tools, doing whatever you need to do as far as perks, etc., and then starting over again. Just keep going and going and going and working the debt off. So as it stands right now, at the time of this recording, I've worked about $200 million off of my debt, so I'm just above 800 million, and I'm rank 8, and I believe there are, or you can think of them as levels, I believe that there are 10 levels in this, and it's like any other game where you do level up. And when you do, when you meet certain criteria or quotas in this case, if you look down here, you can see these guys. It unlocks extra things for you within your equipment that you can upgrade, suit, helmet, your 2 major tools. It'll also progressively unlock different ship classes, so you can start doing more difficult ships that pay out more. So where I'm at right now is I'm a good way through rank 8. I'm going through rank 9, but I need to get another 80-odd work order objectives. And a work order can be something as simple as salvage 4 atmospheric processors within a ship. That can be one work order. Let's see, just to give you guys an example here of how this works, in the main menu here inside the habitat module, you have start, and I'll show you guys that in just a minute. That's where you actually go to start your shift. And I'll probably demonstrate on an easy or medium difficult mackerel ship. There's one of 3 types of ships, so I'll get into that in a second. Anywho, in this game, you have your helmet and your suit, but you also have 2 major tools. You've got the grapple tool, and you've got the laser cutter tool. And whenever you level up and you earn points, called LT over here, from taking apart ships and salvaging equipment and stuff like that, you can perform upgrades. So it's typical of a lot of other games and how your character progresses and unlocks things and gets better over time. Let's see. So just some examples of stuff you can do in the laser cutter here. There's the stinger and the split saw. I'll show that off later. You can improve heat capacity, in other words, its ability to cool off while you're using it, because it's a tool that builds up heat over time. It can cause problems. That kind of thing like that. Let's see, durability drain, you know, how often it, or how much it's going to break apart or degenerate over time, you know, due to use, wear and tear type thing. Let's see, you have the grapple tool. There's a bunch of different stuff you can upgrade here. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. Thrusters, you can make your thrusters more powerful on your suit. And then there's this thing called a cross-spectrum scanner. I'll show that off in a minute. So helmet, whatever. Demolition charges, that is, from what I understand, that's a new thing. And if I failed to mention that already, the version of the game that I'm doing this review on is 0.3.0. And so demolition charges are a new thing. And so there's some pieces on some ships where they'll have what are either called cut guards or larger parts where you have 2 pieces of the ship that you have to get apart, and so you have to use a demolition charge to slice it in half, where the laser cutter tool won't do the job. So anywho, before I get ready here, I'm going to repair my various tools, because I did a job prior to doing this video here, and I've worn most of it out, so. But I'm not going to do any upgrading just yet. I'll come back to that. A couple other things that pop up. You get certain messages in your inbox that are company related, data recovery from getting essentially the black boxes off of some of these ships, and they'll have some goofy things in there, so you can read more about the lore of the game and things like that. That's kind of a nice touch. Stickers, you can dress up your tools, your grappler tool and your laser cutter tool, with some of these custom stickers. I don't really ever look at them, but it's kind of a cool little nice perk. Anywho, let's go in and do a ship. So, what we go into here is called the ship catalog. Go into view catalog. Now, the ship grade is going to determine the class of the ship and the difficulty level that you can choose. Now, that's going to rely solely on your level, or your rank, as they call it in here. So I'm able to get ship grade 6, and I think that unlocked when I got rank 8, I think. I don't know if there's a grade 7 or 8 or anything like that past this. So this is kind of some of the stuff that you can do here. I'll go back over to ship grade 1. Whenever you start out, you get access to the Mackerel training ship. A Mackerel is one of the small ships, and it has, you can probably, as an experienced cutter, you can take this thing apart in probably half an hour and fully salvage it. There's not a whole lot to it. Let's see here. As you go up, you get to slightly more complex versions of this same vessel. Now, it's the same class of ship, as you can see here, but some of them can be built slightly differently. Now, they'll generally have the same interior, the cockpit up front, that sort of thing like that. But there will be some differences on it. I think it's one of the ways that keeps the game from becoming monotonous. The idea in something like this is, as I understand it, is to keep the game challenging by changing things up. You know, and so some of that's going to be different difficulty levels and complexity in the vessel and things like that. So not every single one of these ships are identical internally. As you continue to level up a little bit more, you get to what's called the Javelin class, and those are substantially larger boats that are real long, cylinder shaped. There's refueling versions, heavy cargo ones, that kind of thing like that. The heavy cargo ones could have a bunch of shipping containers on them that you have to you have to cut the guards off of and pull off down to the barge to salvage. The refueling ones can be a lot of fun because they'll have a lot of these external fuel tanks that you have to get off. So there's the challenge of disconnecting safely, that is, the main fuel pipes off the main fuel tank, getting him out, that kind of thing like that. So there's a lot of in this game, there's a lot of a logistics challenge in how you decide on what you're going to remove, cut, and that kind of thing like that. That's part of what makes this game, in my opinion, very good. It's a whole lot of a brain teasing type game. You know, it's not a run and gun type thing where you just learn some rote patterns and you go in and do that and it's boring. So let's see, as far as one to demonstrate on, how about we do, let's do this. Ship grade 3, a medium difficulty mackerel. Now over here on the right where we have the total value of 3.296 million, if I were to take this entire boat apart and salvage it 100% and do it 100% perfectly, I'd get that. Now, I almost never hit that high. I usually wind up losing certain things, or I wind up getting lazy or tired. If I've been into salvaging a ship for 2 hours and I just want to get done with it, then I'll start chopping it up a little more frivolously, you know what I mean? Or I'll skip saving things like strip lights inside the hallways or what have you. So, to demonstrate, I'm going to pick this ship. So let me scoot that guy over, and once he is done loading, we will go in, and here we are. So this is the habitat module. This is where you start. There's the moon, just to kind of give you guys an idea of the backdrop here. Humanity has a ton of stuff in orbit here, and there's Earth down below, and here's our Lynx Corporation shipyard. So this is where we are salvaging all these boats. Down below, you've got the barge, all of your valuables like ship reactor, ECU, coolant tanks, fuel tanks, computer terminals, electronics, anything like that goes down there. Those are your high dollar items typically. Processor is for carbon-based materials, non-metallic. The furnaces you got back there, those are for your metals, aluminum and titanium. In here, we have the kiosk. There, you can see my guy down there. And here you have the kiosk, and what you can buy in here: O2 supplies, fuel for your thrusters, tethers, which I'll demonstrate here shortly, demolitions, something called a utility key, and that's for a specific type of terminal, depending upon the difficulty of the ship, that can disable fuel flow to thrusters. You have a repair kit, that's for repairing your tooling once you're done with your job. And just as a side note, it's always a good idea to buy a few of these things, just to have them on hand. Then you have a patch kit, and that's if you get a crack in your helmet, so, which does happen. So here we go, we're in our little spacesuit, and we have our work order list up on the top right there. So according to this, I need to salvage the thruster, 3 storage boxes, whatever massive nanocarbon that is. That's going to be exterior ship hull. That's all the painted stuff. It's non-metallic. Straight metal, which is going to be the interior of the boat. 3 computer terminals, and then something called a power junction box. So I've got all these things here that I can do. So the challenge here is where do I start? Is there anything that takes priority? How do I manage certain things, such as, don't want to start ripping doors or hull plating off while the ship is still pressurized, because in the case of this boat, it still is. So, going to pop open the airlock here.
Levels dropping.
Going to change the pressure level inside. That door's sealed. Once we pop in here and open this door, he'll shut. This guy over here will open. Now, one thing I've learned, you can see my guy's hand over here. In this game, you can use the Z and the X key for left and right hand, respectively, to grab onto things. One of the things I've learned, having been blown out of ships or being blown down, hallways or whatever in some of these things, is to always grab onto something whenever I'm doing an airlock. Anyway, let's lock the ship up here.
Pressure levels dropping.
Now inside of here, you can see there's a bunch of stuff floating. This is 0G. We are, out in orbit towards extremely low G. You want to get real technical about it. But this is a pressurized environment. So, in theory, if I were to start zapping these doors off with a laser cutter, then all the air in here is going to rush out outside, and it's going to start dragging all these things that are in there out. So you have to be really careful with stuff like that. So one of the things I like to do when I first come into a ship is I do kind of like a site inspection of it. I just get a look around to see what's what. This is a Mackerel. It's not very complex. You've got the cockpit out there. You've got a few things in here. It looks like it seats 7 additional passengers. There's some storage boxes. There's a repair kit right there. These things are good to pick up. Those are the same as buying the ones from the outside. And then back here, you're going to have the reactor, thruster, propulsion room, effectively. Here's your data drive. Data drive is the black box thing I was mentioning earlier. That is usually or here's the cockpit rather, I'm backwards. That is usually a work order. In the case of this boat, it is not. So, ship is pressurized. I'm going to start pulling the air pressure out of it. So,
Air pressure level decreasing.
Currently, as it stands, the cockpit is depressurized. Now, the main cabin of the ship back there still is. So what's going to happen is that
Air pressure level decreasing.
so the air is trying to equalize. That air processing unit is still on in there, and now it should be shut off. And so we will probably have the exact same thing happen with the back portion. Probably.
Airlock pressure levels increasing.
There we go. All right, I'm going to show off some of the tooling here. So you have 2 tools. You have a grappler tool, and basically use this to grab stuff or to tether objects from point A to point B. Then you have the laser cutter tool, and the laser cutter tool has 2 settings. You have the stinger, shoots a laser, and then you have something called the split saw, which I'm not going to use quite yet, but I will use it here shortly. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this door off that goes to the back section. There we go. So I yanked him off. Now we can get to the back of the ship here, and we have spare O2 bottles. We have our power reactor. You can see the symbol on it. I'm honestly surprised that is not a work order item, because it almost always is. And then in here, fuel canisters, live fuel line. You can see that the light's on, so there's fuel that's traveling in and out of all this stuff. Okay, thruster venting control. This is where you get the key, which I do not have. I will go back and grab one shortly, to disable fuel going to the thruster itself, unless there's a key right there. That might be one. Here we go. There's our key. Again, we're in space, so stuff is floating around. So, come in here. This is a very easy ship to do, by the way. Of course, I'm probably going to jinx it by saying that and do something screwed up. So, that should have disabled the fuel going to the thruster here. And there's our thruster that we need to get off of here. So, ship is now depressurized. I'll save those O2 bottles for later. I need to get into the side of the boat and disable the fuel flow going to those lines right there. Now, in theory, if I were to take my split saw or cutter tool and go at those fuel lines, then it would cause a fire and a chain reaction, and it would have very, very nasty results. I might do it just for the sake of demonstrating how the game works, just for fun, because there's so many of those environmental hazards that you have to be mindful of when doing this. It's just part of the challenge of it. And the more complex the ship gets, the more tedious those things are, the worse it can be. I've had whole ships explode. I've accidentally set chain reaction off with a nuclear reactor. I've done all sorts of stuff in here. So let's see. Thruster, just to give you an idea. Now, hopefully what I did out there works. So we're going to demonstrate the laser cutter here. Now, there's a pair of cut guards that are on the side, either side of this thruster cap, and this is the outer portion of the thruster module itself. Scan tool. This is one thing I mentioned earlier. This is something that's like a computerized electronics thing that's inside of your helmet. You can use it to, if you're new to this, after a while you get to where you can identify everything. You don't really use this anymore. But you can identify the differences between structural cut points, heavy panels, light panels, that kind of thing like that, to give you an idea as to what places you can cut, pull apart, that kind of thing like that. So most of these cut points are going to have some kind of a hazard yellow and black striped type thing on them. And not to mention on the bottom, it says cut point. So here we go. Now, hopefully, the fuel is actually truly disabled to the thrusters. Because if it's not... There, okay, this could have been fun. Okay, so the thruster cap came off. Now, if you look at the bottom of this, it'll say processor in blue. So everything's color-coded in terms of where salvage pieces go. Barge is green, that's your high-value stuff. Processor's going to be your carbon-based, non-metallic stuff. And then red, or orange, is going to be your furnace stuff. That's going to be all your metals, titanium, aluminum, that sort of thing like that. The thruster cap, I didn't push that in there very well, but use the grappler tool here to grab stuff, sling things around, that kind of thing like that. It's basically like a laser rope. I guess I don't know how else to describe it. Okay, so the thruster should be disconnected from the back. I'm going to grab it straight on. You have to be very, very particular about how you do this. Now, if I were on the side of the ship and trying to use a grappler, I'd have to swing it off to the side to pull it out. Otherwise, it'll start banging into the walls. But what I like to do on this is grab it and then tap the right mouse button to pull it back out. So now she's out. I have a little bit better control of her. This is a barge item. Hold right mouse button for a tether. The tethers are very, very important. And as Weaver, the narrator guy in this game, says, tethers are your friend. So he's going down to the barge. Boom. And there's one of our work orders completed.
Credits transferred.
Okay, so let's see. We have nacelles to take apart. It says one, but I like to do both of them. The nacelles on this need to be disabled from the inside. One thing I do want to show off here is the split saw tool. If you're really wanting to be down and dirty and taking stuff apart really fast, use a split saw. You just start cutting. Sometimes it'll go through multiple things. In this case, you can use it to take these outer guards off that are around the airlock entry. So this thing is a piece of carbon, so we'll use the charge off the grip tool, or the grapple tool, to send them in. And let's see, we can split saw the cut points on this outer guy right there. Now I have to be careful how I use this. I don't want to cut into everything. The laser will not cut into carbon, by the way, so you're protected on that. That's actually a good thing. The stinger and the split saw only work on metallic objects, and those cut points are all going to be steel or titanium or whatever the heck. But this guy goes into the processor. So as you can tell already, this thing's very physics-based, depending upon where you drag stuff and where you're positioned, and when you use the charge push to shove stuff away and into a certain thing. So you have to be kind of delicate about how you do things. After a while, you get to where you can do things very quickly, and in fact, you can get kind of acrobatic about it. I tend to do it. I stream this game nowadays a lot, and so I'm flying around and doing twirls and, and all this ridiculous stuff. But at first, you have to be careful with it. Airlock door control. Send that down to the barge. I don't think he's going to fulfill any work order item, however. But anyway. So let's see. We'll come back into the boat. I really, really want to get back in there. And the way that I'm going to do it is probably... Let's see. Start chopping cut points off with the stinger portion of the laser cutter tool here to get this bottom panel down. So this bottom panel is disconnected. Everything on these ships is modular. It's really, really cool. This bottom panel is now out, so I now have a way in and out. Yes, I'm playing with the reduction of O2 and thruster and all that stuff. That's how I like to play it. Some people might find it annoying. That is an option that you can do, but I prefer it.
Salvage secured. Credits.
Well, grappler tool is handy for getting back over to the kiosk to re-up your supplies. So I need to buy O2. Go. My bottle of it.
Oxygen levels stabilizing.
Don't need tethers, and I don't need thruster fuel. So we're done there. Plus, there's a couple of bottles of O2, and I think one thruster fuel bottle in there. But anyway, here we go. So this chunk here is carbon. This is outer hull. So it's going to go into the processor. I'll use the tether, and I'll grab it on the corner. Now, tethers have only so much of a lifetime and only so much strength. So for some of the larger boats with larger pieces, you can use 4 or 5 or 6 tethers to really drag that thing in there.
Credits deposited.
And tethers are something that you wind up upgrading as you level up. 1, their lifetimes, and then 2, the total amounts. And I think I'm maxed out on being able to carry 25 tethers, but I believe start off with 10 tethers, and they last 1 minute when you deploy them.
Credit applied.
You can buy more at the kiosk back there. So let's see, anything else I can grab? I guess I could grab a couple more of these antenna. Maybe do a little bit more. I don't know if I want to sit here and really fully take this boat apart. I want to do this more just as a demonstration to kind of show some of the different things that you do in this game and how the makeup of the ship, externally and externally both, contribute to its challenge. Let's see. Okay. Let's assume that this work order here had reactor recovery, one of the things that we do. Taking off this bottom plate makes it a direct shot straight down to the barge, which is where it'll go. So this will disable part of the electric in the ship. Loosen it with that guy, and I don't believe you need to do it, but it's just a habit. There we go. The reactor's a very dangerous thing. You got to be really careful with it. When it starts to go into meltdown mode, especially the Class 2, the much larger one in larger boats, it'll start tearing things apart around it, and it can kill you, and it's very bad. And if it melts down, it will explode with a giant white flash. And yeah, that's no good. So, let's see, what else do we have here? I want to get in to back there. So what we can do, since we have the thruster out, I can start hitting these cut points. Be very careful. That's a live fuel line. I don't want to hit it. So I'll use the stinger tool and not the saw. It's 4 cut guard points, or not cut guard, 4 cut points right here that hold basically the back section of this boat. Okay, he's loose. I can start pushing him back. I'm going to use the force of my thrusters and the spacesuit in the body to exert some pressure on this and see how he's moving. This is very physics oriented, so depending upon where you sit is how this thing might push off. That doesn't look. Just 1 minute before I go crazy with it. There's a live fuel line attached to him. You double check and make sure, because it looks like. Yeah. Okay, it's to the fuel tank. This might be an example of a bad thing. So if I cannot get in there, the main fuel shutoff valve is right in there. I could eventually rip that line apart if I can't find a way to get into the back of that thing. That line could rupture, start a fire, blow the fuel tank up, send pieces all over the damn place, and obviously that's going to affect the total salvage value if half the ship's blown apart in pieces here in the shipyard. So I'm going to shove him back in there a little bit closer before I go crazy trying to do something with him. And let's see, I want to find a way to get back to the back of that thing. So is it really truly a demonstration of the of how you have to really think about this stuff logically? And I didn't intend for this to be the case, but here we are. So I want to peel that ceiling piece off, and let's see. Okay, I was hoping there'd be a bar right there, but there's no. Let's see. Yeah, that's that one piece that heals itself up out of the way, so I'm not going to do it. Now I'm going to cheese something real quick. Using the grappler, and I've grabbed this back portion back here, lifting it up. It's a heavy piece, so it's slow. There's a strip light. I'll go ahead and grab it off just to demonstrate, although I've gotten to the point where I usually skip these things now because they wind up taking up room on the barge and they're very annoying.
Salvage deposit accepted.
No,
Credit
not that one. Grab this back corner, send him to the processor. That should get him exactly as you would think. Alright. Let's see. If I can't get access to the back over there, let's try right here. Okay. This actually is turning out to be a good demonstration. because this shows the actual in real life gameplay here how you have to manage stuff. Now, these mackerels are usually very easy for me and I can blow right through them, but this one's set up a little bit differently than ones I messed with, and I don't really mess with these ships much anymore anyway. But you go in there, so we're using a tether for him. I have 19 left. Good. And I think what I'll do is, I think I'm going to take...
Deposit not accepted.
Yeah, wait, what? Oh, it had an aluminum panel on it. Alright. There's an example of how you can lose some salvage right there. These aluminum connecting crossbars, we use a stinger to effectively melt them off. Now as I'm doing this, I have to watch on the bottom right, cutting temperature. Very careful, I don't want to anything and set anything on fire because that would be a bad thing. Still connected. So let's take this guy right there. There's some of these ships, if you cut all of these pieces off, wind up having the entire internal structure of it. It's kind of like sapping the skeleton out of a body, and the ship just goes bleh, and just falls apart and becomes a mess. I've had that happen on a couple of the gecko boats that I've done. Get these guys out the way. Seats, believe it or not, are slightly valuable, but we like those things. Out of the way. Let's see, let's cut you down. Take this bottom carbon plate off. I'm starting to get low on O2. Spare O2 bottles in here. Some ships have these, some don't. There we go. And I'm down to just a little under 2 thruster fuel. Down here. So for those of you that are watching this, you've probably gotten to this point at least. You can already tell how it's a logic thing. You have to be very careful on how you do this stuff and what you choose to take apart and cut and that sort of thing like that, because it could be bad. No.
Valuable object processed.
Okay, those little lights back there I'm going to skip. Take the spare thruster fuel. What I'm wanting to do here is get to the back of the main fuel shutoff switch. So I'm working my way through, sawing some of these things on to see if I can get back there. Okay, let's see. It's probably still connected by plates right there. Back. Let's see. Look. I could probably disintegrate. Let me be careful here. Okay, down. The value, the aluminum here rather, is technically valuable. I like to try and recover pieces like that and not destroy them. But if there's something that's holding this piece in, I want to get it out first. So, see it out the way. So, very, very cool game. You have a lot of fun with this. The challenge on the hard and very hard difficulties. So cool. The stuff that you have to do, the time that you have to take, and really analyzing the ship before you attack it, and deciding what to take apart first and what not to take apart. I'll show you something that's a little bit fun here. It's powered junction boxes. These are usually a work order item, and it is on this one. They're electrified. You peel it off, and it's zapping electricity everywhere. So you don't use the grappler to pull it closer to you. Just kind of do this thing nice and easy, and then boom it down to the barge. Because otherwise your guy can get shocked, he gets health damage. You do it too much, he can die. You know, that sort of thing like that. So let's see. All right. Trying to get to the back of this. What's going on back there? Something caught on fire. That was the storage box that caught on fire from the electrical box. And it just dissolved. There's an idea of environmental stuff. So, there's stuff that's on fire in here. It would behoove me to get it out as quick as possible. So it doesn't spread to other crap in the ship. Especially in that there's still a live fuel line here. Let's see. There was one of those little corner blocks. Where were you? Could have sworn I saw one that was still sitting here. I don't know why this thing is not disconnected yet. He should have. He looks like he's detached. Unless there's something attached to him back. What's that? It might be that right there. Nope, still nothing. Okay. Alright, well, what can I do to get... Let's see. Light out of it. Get down there. These things aren't worth much. Sometimes I just get frustrated and I'll take them and I'll toss them into the into the furnace just to get rid of them. I don't think I've ever seen a work order that demanded using things or salvaging them. So, all right, let me saw off this outer portion, and let's see, we're good there. This off and be one less thing in case I need to start peeling or the ship apart to get to that that fuel shutoff switch, which is very conveniently located because if you're going to be the engineer dude who works on this ship, can exactly easily get to the back of it. Okay, let's see. You part just because we're here and we're talking about it. Drag over and bounce in there. There you go. Okay, back to what we were doing. So we're disconnected there, disconnected there. Let's see. I might be able to tag that. Really. Let's see if that will take that other one off. I'm keeping him intact. Is there another one here that I could tag real quick? That'll take the outer plating in this guy off. Yep, she did. Okay, one thing that you can do, some of y'all that are watching this may have already noticed it, but on anything that's still connected, will show an orange outline. Grappler tool can't disconnect it from whatever it's trying to disconnect it from. If it's blue, it means it's no longer connected. If it's got a blue outline around it. So those two cut points down there that I just took out allow me now to take this interior hull plating out. Or excuse me, interior hallway plating, whatever you want to call it. It's not exterior hull plating. So we're gonna pull him up, using the grappler to reel him in a little bit. He's a furnace piece for the most part, except for those bottom parts. I'll grab him with the tether, send him over to get smelted down. There you go. Now I have access down and into my fuel cutoff valve. In through here. Go. So that actually turned out to be a pretty dang good example of what I was talking about with regard to the logistics involved in getting to something that you need to shut off. Because there's no way in the world that you can take this thing apart with that live fuel line still going. We'll do a little bit of hull plating here. Or the is this thing still connected by? These things usually are modular and they just flop apart on their own. Yeah, he is. He's disconnected. So, but he is really, really heavy and not wanting. Like, come on. There's no break in the seams.
Oxygen reserves are low.
I'll still do the O2 bottle. Why not?
Asphyxiation can lead to missed salvage quotas.
I don't think I'll finish this boat, but
Oxygen
I will do a couple things. Let's see, it's looking for one nacelle. I do have access to port side nacelle there, that fuel. So we'll get this guy out, we'll get him down to the barge. These things have usually either 2 or 4 cut points on them. This one has 2, but sometimes there's a pair on the sides. So our thruster nacelle here is done. Grab him, tether him down to the barge. Boom. That will satisfy that work order. And let's see, what else do we have here? This back section that I was trying to pull off Why is he still lit right?
Salvage secured. Account credit applied.
That's interesting. Not exactly sure while that fuel line is lit. You know, I could use this actually as an example of something of what not to do. I might go ahead and sever that fuel line just to show off what can happen if you do something wrong. Since I've got plenty of time now and with taking things apart and that kind of thing like that.
Salvage deposit accepted. Credits transferred.
Okay. Fuel canister, you can go down there. Like I was saying earlier, you get to where you can start doing this stuff very fast. You just bang, throw it down, bang, throw it down. Processor, furnace, just over and over and over. It also makes you sloppy.
Credits deposited.
So that's something you have to be careful of. Okay, so this fuel line, according to this, is lit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to light it on fire. I'm going to saw a portion of it off. Now, I don't know why it's lit. There we go. So it's venting out gases now. Had a little bit of an explosion. I don't know where the source of this is coming from, but I'm just doing this as a demonstration of what not to do, or you know how things can go bad if you cut something wrong. Okay, is she disconnected yet? Nope. And did. Okay, top portion. Now imagine if that were tied to the main fuel tank and the main fuel line. That'd be a very bad thing. Let's see, where are you still connected at? Sometimes it counts these corners as connection points. Unless it's still attached to one of those cut points in the back. Yep. That place should come out now. This goes into the furnace. The fuel pipe goes into the processor. Let's pull it out of the ship and have some fun with it for the hell of it. Come on down. Now, one thing you can do with the grappler tool is you tap the right mouse button, and it's like reeling in. Is it to pull things across? Just because I'm curious. It shows that it's still lit. Yep, still lit. It's like it's 3 individual chunks of fuel sitting inside of it, with no discernible purpose. So I'm just gonna send the whole thing into the furnace and be done with it. It's probably gonna moan about some of that needing to go to the processor, but whatever. All right, I'll do a little bit more with this, and then I'm gonna call it. This should be plenty of material for anybody who's undecided about the game to now make up their mind and have a adequate material to go on. So 1 tether, pull that heavy carbon piece in. I'll go ahead and grab the strip light off if I can get it. Okay, so that's a chunk of carbon that will go towards the nanocarbon portion of the work order. And then, let's see, this back section, I believe, is fully disconnected now. Yeah. Okay. So this larger section may have a couple of metal parts on it, but it's almost entirely carbon, so it goes into the processor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple of tethers on it since it's a larger piece. Now, one of the little caveats about this, one of the things that you have to be careful of, I'm going to lose it. Yeah, I'm gonna lose it. Oh well, whatever. Anyway, so there you go. Like I was saying, one of the caveats is some of these larger boats will extend towards the back here, and getting some of those larger hull pieces off requires several tethers to make sure it doesn't get drawn into the furnace. I've had that happen, and I've missed completion on work orders because of that, because I didn't have enough of them on there, and I did not position them correctly. That's also a thing as well. So that should grab that guy and send it there. So, let's see, one more piece, and then I'll get out of here. Or maybe I'll use the,
Valuable object.
that's a power cell.
Credits awarded.
Carbon dioxide can cause damage to Lynx
we go.
equipment.
I think we were good on O2 balls. Yeah, we used them all. All right. I'll do one more thing. I'll show off the demolition charges, and then out of here. So, but yeah, that's the Mackerel class, and there are several different variations of it, and no one Mackerel is identical to another. So, like I was saying earlier, there's some variants here with that. Each ship is a new adventure, if you want to look at it that way. Let's see. Demolition! Okay, let's just say, you know what? I'm just getting mad at all this. I'm just going to start blowing crap up. In fact, that right there is called a cut guard. So on these cut points here, I've been using the stinger portion of the laser tool to get those things apart. Cut guards are reflective. You can't use them. So what you have to do is use a demolition charge instead. I'll do this one cleanly. I'll place that charge there. It's going to make a bit of a mess when I pop it. And let's see. Let's flip our orientation right up here. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Here we go. So it made a bit of a mess. Crap floating around now. Grab and send stuff into wherever they need to go. This is not uncommon for using demolition charges, but they are a very handy tool. And as far as I know, as best I understand at least, they are a new thing for this version 0.3.0. Speaking of tooling, I don't know if any other new tooling will be added or not. Certainly with what's in this game, the two main tools and the demolition charges seem to be fine. Well, they seem to do the job just fine. So let's see, maybe one more raucous demonstration of a fuel line, and I'll just say, or not a fuel line, of a demolition charges, and I'll say to hell with the rest of the work order, just because I like to go out with a bang on stuff like this, because it's fun. Speaking of which, I do have one video up of where I set, I want to say 12 demo charges on one of these mackerels and exploded the whole thing, and it was a whole lot of fun. Here we go, let's go out with a bang here. Boom. There we go.
Please retain for damage to salvage.
So there we go. Hardspace Shipbreaker with a little bit of fun involved in it. I hope for anybody that's watching this that's considering buying it,
Salvage
I hope
secured.
that
Credits deposited.
that this video has given you enough of a review, enough of a demonstration on everything. That's you know, like I was saying, the more basic ship, but there are two far more complex ones, and there's harder difficulties, and there's more logistics and more care that needs to be taken in taking them apart. So there's the challenge of the game right there. Anywho, hope you guys enjoyed that. I absolutely love this game. I am so glad I bought it, and it has been a favorite of mine to stream. It's a lot of fun to watch. You know, a lot of what would you call it, tense moments that can happen, like accidentally blowing half of the ship off the back half, and it or slams you into the space station and you die, or you get frozen from popping a coolant tank. There's all sorts of stuff you can do in this. Anywho, hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit those like and sub buttons if you would, please. Any questions or comments that you have, leave them down below. And hope you guys have a good one.